Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. Proudly sponsored by betting.co.uk. So we are back again with the new series of our Stable Tour interviews. And as you can see, for a second year, I have been joined again by Jamie Snowden. How are you, Jamie?
Yeah, great form, thanks, Joe. How are you?
Really, really good. Starting to get excited now, obviously, with the new season really starting to creep up on us. But first of all, Jamie, how is everything at Folly House? I mean, you must be getting excited this time of year. The team's starting to get geared up for the new season. How is life at Folly House?
Yeah, as you say, everyone's excited. It's obviously we had a wonderful season last year, which sort of built on the previous good few years that we've had, and obviously we've been reinvesting over the summer in some newer younger stock as well, and now they're sort of all back in various sort of forms of pre-training and ready for the season ahead. Obviously, it's been a good summer with our sort of small select summer team, but September around the corner, building up to our open day, and yeah, sort of hopes and dreams are in the air.
Live and kicking, live and kicking. Because Jamie, when we spoke at the beginning of last season, we were actually discussing how the 2022-23 season was a record-breaking year for you, but you've gone and beaten that again in the 2023-24 season. So, I mean, first of all, that must bring you a lot of joy, and it's just a massive credit to you and your team for all of the hard work that you put in, I guess, for the recent seasons. Is that right?
Yeah, you're very kind, Joe. Yeah, listen, it's a huge amount of work by the whole team here at Folly House, and yeah, it just puts the pressure on for the next season. We got it better than last season now.
It does, it does. But you've come quick out of the gates, Jamie. You've got 11 winners on the board already. And you had a brilliant treble yesterday at Worcester with Kite Surfer bolting up. Pisgah Pike was really good. And then Queen of the Vale as well, who really impressed me in the mare's bumper. You've got a bit of a knack of finding these real good bumper horses, especially these mares. And if you don't mind, we'll start with Queen of the Vale, actually. She's 2 for 2 now, both at Worcester. And yesterday she made all. She travelled really strongly, and Gavin only had to give her a nudge really as well to sort of pull away from the field. Then she eased at the line. I mean, she was quite impressive. Must be quite an exciting sort to go forward with this year.
Yeah, she is really exciting. I suppose it's one of those tricky things to really know quite what you've beaten really at this time of year, doesn't it? It's it's not a winter bumper around Newbury, but you couldn't help but be impressed with how she's gone through the race and how easily she's gone and won it. She's only a 4-year-old and carrying a penalty. It's never easy to go and do that kind of thing. So yeah, listen, she is exciting. So we're all buzzing on the back of that, and I think we'll try and target her at the listed race at Cheltenham Paddy Power meeting, I would have thought.
Brilliant, brilliant. She certainly deserves a crack, doesn't she? I mean, she traveled. Was she a little bit keen to start with in the race, or was that just Gavin holding her, sitting pretty at the front? Because I mean, also was it tactically the decision before the race to go from the front, knowing that she's quite a decent sort?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you've got the sort of when you think you've got the best horse in the race, you want to try and keep it as uncomplicated as possible. And sometimes if you overcomplicate life, you get yourself in sort of trouble. So we made all the first day with her through no real reason apart from she was an uncomplicated sort who hopefully knew her job, and nobody really wanted to go on again last night. So we thought if it worked once, we'll try it again, and it worked. I think she doesn't need to lead. She's a very easy kind of mare. She's got a lovely attitude, and she deserves a chance at a bit of black type now. So yeah, we'll try and head to Cheltenham in November.
It must be great as well having Gavin in the team, Jamie. I mean, in my opinion, with Harry Cobden and Sean Bowen, Gavin Sheehan is without doubt part of that top 3 jockeys in the country at the moment. I mean, he's ridden all sorts of big winners for you. Of course, he rode That's All Right Gino last season. Unfortunately, obviously, he's no longer with us, but he must be such a valuable part to your team this year, especially when you've got these sort of bumper horses coming through and nice new recruits as well.
Oh, he's really very good, isn't he? He was obviously champion conditional several years ago now, but he came to us probably 5 or 6 years ago, probably a bit longer, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know when it was, but yeah, we forged a really strong partnership, I suppose, and we trust each other, and I suppose with that the confidence grows, and he's a very, very talented jockey and riding at the top of his game. So yeah, we're lucky to be able to use him.
I suppose that trust is such a big part in obviously having a successful operation with yourself, your assistant trainers, the yard staff, and having a good jockey. I suppose it all needs to come together and gel to obviously have a successful season. And like we said, you've improved the last few years on year, just getting better and better. So again, it's just a credit to what a big stable you're becoming, a really successful yard as well. Just brilliant to see such a good duo. Right, let's stick with the mares for a second then, Jamie, because of course you've got the mares novice hurdle winner from 2 years ago. You wear it well. She then came out last season and beat Lucia in the listed mares race at Wetherby. And I do remember you saying that she has actually scored over fences previously. Would you be tempted to go down that route with her this season, knowing she's got a bit of class on her day?
Yes, we're definitely going to go chasing with her, Joe. Yeah, that's definitely the plan this season. We were toying with which route to go last season, whether it be staying over hurdles or going chasing, and we opted to stay over hurdles. She obviously won that listed race at Wetherby very nicely. She ran some really, really solid races last year, but nothing really clicks last year. As you know, it was a very wet winter, and every race that we wanted to go for was either abandoned, rescheduled, moved, changed. And it just meant that when we got her ready for a target, we had to wait another week for the next target. We had to then change plans and reschedule, and nothing really flowed from that race at Wetherby. And listen, she was placed in grade 1s and grade 2s all the way through last year. So we're certainly not complaining, but I don't think we had her quite at her best afterwards for those particular races, just through the nature of the British weather, I suppose. Yeah, listen, she's done really well for a break. She's big and strong, and she scored well over fences previously. We haven't scored her yet this autumn, but we will do again, and that'll be the route we go. I think the listed race at Bangor is probably the right race to start her off in November, and then work our way from there. But I would have thought 2 miles over fences is probably the route to go with that.
Is it quite hard to keep horses fit when you've got a target in mind? And then, because I'm sure there was about 3 races that were abandoned for her during the season that you had her ready for. Is it then hard to keep them right in between when you're almost getting them peaked for a certain day?
Yeah, I think it depends on the horse.
Okay.
And I think it also depends on mares and geldings.
Okay. Okay.
I think, yeah, they are all different, and certainly with her, we didn't find it easy. With literally every race after Wetherby was rescheduled or changed, apart from the mares race at Cheltenham, and we were probably just a bit over the top at that point. She's obviously owned by Chips Keswick, who has been a huge supporter of ours over the years. He unfortunately died in the spring. Okay. Probably my fault for going to Cheltenham. We probably shouldn't have gone in hindsight, but I knew Chips wasn't very well, and yeah, that's probably my error.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry about that. I mean, I hope she has a good year this season anyway, that's for sure. Would you consider something like the Mares Chase as a long-term target, or is the 2 mile 4 perhaps a little bit of a stretch for her, do you think?
Well, she has won over 2-4. She won a grade 2 at Sandown, the Jane Seymour. That was over 2 mile 4. I think that is, that's the obvious route. But just because it's the obvious route doesn't necessarily mean it's the right route.
Sure.
And the right trip. So I think certainly her best form, I think, has been over 2 miles. She's by Midnight Legend out of a Fleming's mare, so she's bred for further. She's won over further. She was second in a grade 2 at Doncaster over 3 miles. So I'd hope that the trip is flexible with her, even though at the moment I'd say her best runs have been over 2 miles. So I think we'll stick at 2 miles to start with. But yes, the 2-4 mares race at the festival is the obvious route to go.
Well, it'd be great to see her win at Cheltenham over hurdles and then at fences. That'd be brilliant to see. That really would. Okay, well, you've got another really, really nice filly, and this is a horse that really gets me quite excited, actually. And you'll know if I tell you the route. She won at Stratford. She then ran well at Cheltenham, then won at Chepstow, and then finished third at Aintree. And that was, of course, the French filly. You got La Marquise. Again, now when we spoke last year, you gave me La Marquise as a horse to follow. And I mean, she's another that looks quite exciting to go forward with. A lot of pace as well in her style of racing. How has she been over the summer? And is the plan obviously to go over hurdles with her this season?
Yeah, absolutely love this filly.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. From word go, I just fell in love with her. And she's, pretty much pleased me with everything she's done from that day onwards. The one slight disappointment was a listed race at Cheltenham on her second start, which was in January against the boys. I kind of got that wrong, I think, myself.
Okay.
She won very easily on debut. Probably didn't learn a great deal. Probably did that all on natural ability. I hadn't really worked her that hard before that race. And I sort of went into Cheltenham having probably not worked her hard enough at all.
Okay.
And she was a bit green and backwards. So I learnt my lesson, and we got into her a little bit, and she won very well at Chepstow, and then obviously picked up the black type in the Grade 2 at Aintree. She's a lovely, lovely filly. Jumps brilliantly, and I think she could be very good.
I honestly get goosebumps talking about her. I really do think she could be quite special. Is she gonna possibly go down the wear it well route towards the Mayor's Novice at Cheltenham? I mean, when you've got a filly like this, you've got to give it a go, haven't you, at the bigger races?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, stop the clock now. She's won the race.
If only it was that simple.
If only it was that simple. I love this time of year though, Jay, because honestly, you walk around the yard and you think you're going to win every big race along the way, but no, she's very smart, and yeah, listen, that's definitely going to be our plan, all being well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, we're moving on to another legend of your stable then. It's Gar Law, Jamie. Now, of course, he won the Paddy Power Gold Cup for you. He won a Grade 3 at Cheltenham in at the back end of January as well, with an official rating now 154. I mean, how has he been? Has he been a little bit tricky for you to train last season, or did things not necessarily go quite to plan in the long run? Because he's another, we've seen so much class from him. And is it fair to say he might be a little bit ground dependent as well?
Yeah, so obviously he was a very good novice chaser, won the Grade 2 Rising Stars, missed a year with an injury, and came back and we set out to win the Paddy Power, and obviously did that. That was off a mark of 140, and obviously he's progressed really ever since then. But he took a nasty fall at Doncaster on his start after the Paddy Power. He came to win the Great Yorkshire Chase and took a fall at the last. Although it didn't really affect him physically, mentally, I think it really knocked him. And it took us a long time to get him mentally back on the straight and narrow. And it was only really his run in the Hennessy, the Coral Gold Cup, last December, where we actually saw the sort of the shoots of light come back in his performance. He didn't stay that day, but stopped the race, 3 out, and he was probably the winner. 3 mile 2, he obviously doesn't stay 3 mile 2. He's somewhere between 2.4 and 2.7, 3 miles perhaps. But he's probably not the stayer that we thought he was, having won the Paddy Power. Dropped him back to 2.5 miles, and he won very nicely at Cheltenham in January, as you say. Probably his best run was in the Oaksey Chase, actually, at the back end of last season when he was second. He's back up to a mark of 154 now, which, as it puts him slightly betwixt and between. He's probably, somewhere between a top end handicapper and a Grade 2 horse. He's either carrying lots of weight in handicaps or needs to improve to win a Grade 2. I think a lot depends on the ground, as you say, Joe. He probably likes a little bit of nicer ground, somewhere between, soft and good, really. Good to soft is probably his ideal. We'll certainly have an entry in the Paddy Power this year. If a horse like Stage Star were to run, then it would actually give us a nice weight in the Paddy Power. If we ended up off top weight in the Paddy Power, then we might think about the Grade 2 at Ascot in November, or waiting for something like the Peterborough Chase.
Okay.
I don't think we necessarily want top weight in the Paddy Power, but if a a good horse were to run in it, it would give us a nice weight.
Will you take his long-term target from the Paddy Power onwards then? Like, well, again, if he doesn't go there and he goes to the Peterborough Chase, will you then decide if you're going to maybe target the Ryanair, or if you look at some bigger handicap pots from that day? Is that how it's going to be with him?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. A lot depends on the weather this winter. If we do have a real wet winter, we might choose to give him a bit of a midwinter break, perhaps,
Okay.
and then keep him going earlier into the summer with perhaps a thought of the Galway Plate.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. I see. I mean, he's got so much talent. I could definitely see him picking up another big pot along the way. That's for sure. So, I'll definitely be rooting for Garlaw this season, Jamie. We then go on to Colonel Harry. Now, this is a horse that's got loads of talent. He was really unlucky not to win the Henry VIII. He was closing on Le Patron. And again, another 15 yards, he probably would have had his neck in front. How has he been? And you must have high hopes for him this year. He's only a 6-year-old, I believe, at the current time, isn't he? So 6 going on 7. Bags of talent again in him as a novice last year, Jamie.
Yeah, as a young horse, he probably always thought he was faster than perhaps he is, and we were running him over 2 miles, and he was a very good novice hurdler, but obviously novice chasing last season was really where he came into his own. He won the Grade 2 Towton over 2 mile 4 up at Wetherby. As you say, he was arguably a bit unlucky in the Grade 1 Henry VIII over 2 miles at Sandown. He just pecked at the first and then put him on the back foot. He was making up ground all the way up the hill, and as you say, another sort of 10 or 15 yards, he probably would have got his head back up in front. But going up to 2 mile 4 last season certainly helped him. He won his grade 2 over 2.4. We kind of hoped that he might sort of fit into a similar mold to That's Right Gino and be unexposed over staying trips. He's certainly more relaxed now in his demeanour at home, and if he were to get a trip, then there might be a lot of scope in his handicap mark from there. So I think we'll give him a prep run and then have a crack at the Coral Gold Cup.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. And a nice bit of soft ground for Colonel Harry. Is that his bag, really, Jamie, as well, based on what we've seen?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He does like soft ground. He's obviously always performed better on softer ground. By going up to 3 mile 2 around Newbury, you'd like to hope that the step up and trip might counter the fact that he might need real deep ground. I think he was probably needing the real deep ground over 2 miles. Going up in trip, he might get away with slightly nicer ground. But yes, his preference is for a bit of cut for sure.
Perfect. One for the note, but definitely then going forward. Jamie, moving on. Now this is a really interesting horse. Again, we spoke about him last year. You got him from the flat when he was rated 105 as Reach Moon. Of course, he had a fair few sort of niggling injury problems on the flat, but it was so good to go and see you get a win with him at Worcester. And I know they're still running in him to go, but I felt like that was sort of mission accomplished after getting him from the flat. But with those issues, to get him winning, it was brilliant to see.
Yeah, he's a horse with bags of talent. Obviously, he was started favourite for the Derby several years ago, so he's obviously got talent. Things haven't necessarily gone his way, hence the reason why he's been gelded and going jumping. Poor chap. If he played his cards right, he could have been living the life of luxury now. But no, he's come jumping and he jumps well. Things just didn't fall his way in the first couple of starts. On soft ground on his debut, he came back lane behind. We got him right. He was too fresh and free on his first start this spring. And then he got carried out early on in a race at Stratford, which looked, a pretty weak affair. So his first 3 runs, nothing really went his way. But he looked very impressive when he won last time out, which was wonderful to see and great to see. Yeah, huge relief, obviously, training our first winner for Her Majesty the Queen. When she was the Duchess of Cornwall, we had a lovely horse called Pacify who won a good few races. But since she became the Queen, it was like a sort of curse off my back. I was just longing for a horse to win for. But yeah, no, he did it nicely. Hopefully he can go and defy a penalty, and if he can, we might have a crack at the Grade 2 at the October meeting at Cheltenham.
That'd be brilliant. When I saw him win at Worcester, I stood there, I just clapped watching him over the line on the telly. It was just brilliant because I know obviously he hasn't had the most straightforward run, if you like, but brilliant to see. And again, if you can get him into a Grade 2 winning that sort of race, or even get him very competitive, brilliant again. Passing Well, Jamie. Now, this is a horse I feel we haven't seen the best of just yet. A very, very good jumper of a fence, actually. Tell me a little bit more about him. I don't know where to place him, what to think, but I know he looks like he's got a lot more talent than possibly what we've just seen at the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Joe. I couldn't agree more. I was super excited about sending him. He won a couple of novice hurdles, great. Super excited about sending him novice chasing last year. He finished second over 2 mile 2 at Ascot. Always knew he was going to improve by going up in trip. That was on his debut over fences, jumped brilliantly. Always knew he was going to improve going up in trip. And he won at Lingfield. And then just a couple of slightly disappointing runs. First time, we just probably didn't make enough use of him at Newbury. I think he could have won that race had we made more use of him. And then 2 disappointing runs at the back end of last year. One at Exeter where Gav thought he didn't quite stay. And on his next start, he actually came back with a niggly injury to the back of his knee. So I can forgive those 2 runs. I'm sure he will stay. Perhaps last year was just a year too soon for him stepping up to 3 miles. I'm sure this year he will improve for going up to 3 miles. There's plenty of scope off his current mark, but he needs to go up, get up, probably 8 or 10 pounds before we think about a decent race. But if things do progress as the season goes on, he might be one that actually creeps into the Ultima or something like that at the festival.
Certainly jumps well enough for it as well. I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on Passing Well then, with a view obviously to this season. Jamie, a couple of newcomers I noticed that you have got from the point-to-point scene. The first one being Admiral Stewart. He's a half-brother to the Crafty Butcher who was with Willie Mullins. A fairly expensive purchase. How much do you know about him at the moment? And have you got a plan to get him straight into bumpers or?
Yeah, we bought him midway through last season, and trying to take a leaf out of Willie Mullins. We were trying to get him into our routine and rhythm of everything here, and got him to the point of ready to run, and then gave him a holiday, and trying to be a bit patient with some of these young horses, and hopefully it pays off. He's a lovely big strong staying type, jumps great. Whether we start him off in a bumper remains to be seen, but he'll be novice hurdling this winter for sure. Yeah, he's a lovely type of horse, and certainly one that I can see developing into a proper 3 mile chaser in time.
Perfect. Epic West, is this another one of yours? I believe for the prospectors. I think they own him.
Yeah.
Again, how do you feel about him coming to the yard? Has he done much as well?
Yeah, so he obviously won his point-to-point as well. He's a brother of Complete Unknown, who won the EBF final at Sandown for Paul Nicholls and started favourite for the Hennessy last year, only for Gino to go and beat him.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Anyway, so yeah, he's a brother of his. Again, he looks a proper big staying chaser for the future. We'll start off over hurdles this winter. We'll want to put a cat in the ground, but a nice staying type.
Perfect. And I think you've got a nice filly called Fabulous Fortune. Is that right? Third to
yeah, that's right.
In a point-to-point, who she subsequently went to Gordon Elliott and Rob Corr for a pretty penny of 320,000, something like that. Ran a really nice race that day herself, though. Fabulous Fortune. Has she been working well at home?
Really, yeah, she's a lovely mare. Mick Fitzgerald bought her up at Doncaster. She's been in pre-training up with Mick. She's coming into us on Monday, I think. I've been up to see her a few times, and she's a lovely type. And yeah, listen, it's wonderful to have the Mick Fitzgerald Racing Club in our team. I've obviously known Mick for many years when I was at Nicky Henderson's, and he was stable jockey there when I was assistant and amateur. And he's a lovely guy and been a big supporter of ours. So thrilled to have a horse for him.
Lovely to see some new recruits coming through, Jamie. Have you got any other eye catchers or newcomers for us to sort of note, or any horses that
Yeah.
are impressing you this?
Um,
I know you've gone quite deep into recruiting a nice team again this year, obviously due to the constant success over the last few
yeah.
years.
I mean, obviously, a couple of others to mention. Audacious Annie, You Wear It Well's sister, won a
Okay.
bumper at Weatherby. She'll be a nice novice hurdler this year. Bella's Bridge, she won a bumper last year, and again, she'll go novice hurdling this year. A couple of newcomers that haven't run. Cinquenta, he looks very good. He's by Cocorico, 4-year-old that was in pre-training last year. He's been bought by Martin and Jocelyn and Steve Broughton.
Brilliant. Okay.
That's great. Doc McCoy will go novice chasing.
Love Dr. McCoy,
Double
love-
click. Dwight K. Shrew, he's an English point-to-pointer. Fassa Delage obviously won the Grand Military last year.
Yes, of course.
We're trying and do that again. Fresh Perspective, he won an English point-to-point. He's by New Approach.
Okay.
He's a 4-year-old. Looks a nice type. Git Maker, we haven't mentioned Git.
Yes, of course. Yes. Fabulous jump. Good jump. Again, another horse that we probably haven't seen the best of just yet, I'd imagine as well.
Yeah, so he was obviously second in the Kim Muir last year and third in the Scottish National. Only went up a pound for those two performances, so he's off a mark of 133. We're going to go and try and go for the Welsh National with him.
Hey, brilliant, excellent. Yes, okay.
Golden Maverick, I think there's more to come from him.
Yeah, he's the nice 4-year-old, isn't he? I did actually have a look at him. He's owned by Race Share, isn't he? At the
Exactly.
moment. Yeah, is he by Golden Horn? Is that right?
No, he's by Zarak.
Zarak, of course he is. Yes, I did have a look at him earlier. Actually, I forgot to bring him up, but he's another that looks like he's got quite a bit of speed and stamina sort of on his side. He's got sort of like that rare combination that you don't often see. What's the plan with him going forward then, if that's the case?
Yeah, so he was a good juvenile hurdler last year. He won at Haydock and actually won the quite valuable Grey Bomber Northern Series up at Musselburgh. That was on very soft ground. Soft ground over 2 miles looks to be important to him, but I'm sure he's gonna step up in trip. So I think soft ground was only important to him over the minimum trip. A fast run race over 2 miles on soft ground is probably where we'll start him off.
Okay.
But I do think he will go up in trip as the season progresses. Yeah, he's a nice type, off a mark of 113. There should be a lot more to come from him.
And he's only 4 at the moment as well, isn't he? So definitely some untapped potential to be seen in that department as well. Jamie, just a quick question on your bumper horses. How do you dictate how you're going to ride them, get them tactically ridden, should we say, in bumpers? I know we've discussed Queen of the Vale and you had Gavin ride her from the front. Do you just try and find them a level pace, or is it similar, like you said, you thought you had the best filly with Queen of the Vale, so you rode her from the front? Or is it a case of just trying to keep them within their comfort zone? This is just something I'm curious about myself, really.
Yeah, I suppose Gavin and I discussed tactics before each race, obviously. But Gavin is very good, and I think the best thing about our relationship is that I allow him that free rein. Things go right, things go wrong. When they go wrong, we discuss them. When they go right, we praise each other. But we're not afraid to discuss things and try things, and we have each other's backs, which I think is key, because things don't go right.
Of course.
Passing well, perhaps we should have made use of him at Newbury, more use of him at Newbury when he was only beaten a length or so. But we know that, and we work together to, we both want the same thing. So I think it's the free rein that we allow each other that works well. And I think Gav thrives off that. So when it comes to tactics in bumpers, quite often, I'll leave it to him. He doesn't tend to ride many of our bump horses at home. I just explain to him what those horses are like, and he then gets a feel of them countering down to the start and works it out himself.
Wow.
He comes in and he schools all the horses and lots of them, but he doesn't often ride work on those bump horses.
Okay, okay. And I suppose again, leaving a little bit of not guesswork at all, but learning about them in their bumper years and then their novice will effectively give you a lot more knowledge about them when they go in sort of like open graded company, I guess. And then you'll know exactly what you've got under your belt and obviously where you can target the horses a little bit more or more in that sense. And I suppose that's worked well. We've seen that again with the likes of Garlaw and Gino and Colonel Harry, another one. I think like we said, you're gonna have a really big season with him this year too. Taking a look at the buy-in side of things, how do you determine what sort of horse you're looking for when you go to the sales, or do you have the likes of Mick Fitzgerald to say, "I've got you a nice one here. Should we go with this gelding?" Or how
Yeah, so I work very closely with Tom Malone,
okay, of course,
the bloodstock agent. So several years ago, obviously when I left Nicky's, I was at Pool's obviously before that, and both Paul and Nicky were using high flyer bloodstock to buy their horses. And I was starting out afresh, and I'd be the bottom of the pile of the high flyer sort of food chain, as it were, when I was starting out. And one of the first horses I bought off Tom was a grey filly called Exora. She ended up winning 7 races. She was our first winner at Cheltenham. The second horse I bought off Tom was Pleasant View, who won at the festival.
okay,
So Tom and I started off basically together. He started off buying around that kind of time, and I started off training at that kind of time. And we progressed and moved forward together, which is great. And I believe in a team, and my team is run by my head girl at home, who's been with us since we started, and our secretary's been with us since we started, and Gavin's been with us for, as I say, 6 or 7 years or 8 years or whatever it's been now. And I think our team very much includes Tom Malone, who helps buy the horses, and we act as a cohesive team.
I really feel you are the definition in your team of hard work does pay off. And again, the results are coming year on year on year. And I mean, you've set yourself a really high bar for this season to get, but that's what you want, right? You want to be able to be competing in the best races and bringing these younger horses through to try and get them into, to turn them into superstars. And you've had a lot come through this year, Jamie, and last year, of course.
Yeah, I think certainly I believe that I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer.
Good. Have to be.
I want to be training horses on an upward curve with young horses that can progress and end up in these big races. That's what we all want. That's what we all aspire to achieve, and that's certainly our model. And I try and sort of encourage our owners to join the dream train, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's growing year on year on year, and it's great to see big winners, graded winners all across the board. So long may it continue, I guess, Jamie. Now, Jamie, before we go then, I asked you this last year and you gave us La Marquise. Give us a horse to follow or horses to follow for the upcoming season that we can have a little bit of fun with. No pressure, because La Marquise set a pretty high standard.
Okay, I just was to mention a couple more,
Yes.
but Handle on the Kettle, he's a new horse to us. Looks quite smart. Hardy Desire, I'm sure there's more handicaps to be won with him. Hollygrove Chacha's won a couple of bumpers. Ivy Wood's going to go novice chasing. Jack and Jones, novice chasing. Julius Picton's come from France, having won a bumper. Cossack Duderry, an Irish point-to-pointer. Latterpix, a French bumper winner, just come to us. Lawrence Bay, bumper winner last year, going novice hurdling. Mache Dallegre, off the flat from France to go juvenile hurdling. Maximum Offers, another Irish point-to-pointer. Mildam's won 3 races last season. Should be more to come from him. A few youngsters part this one. He'll go novice chasing.
Oh, I like him. He's the walk in the park gelding, isn't he?
Yeah, he's exactly missed most of last season. Had a bit of a heart issue, but touchwood back on the straight and narrow now, and there should be a lot more to come from him. He was grade two placed in a couple of races. Rowan Coe, another pointer. Roger Pole's going to go novice chasing.
I like Roger Pole. I do like Roger Pole. He was good last year too.
Yeah, very good. Super Survivor, Tornio.
Oh yeah,
Wendigo.
Yes.
Wendigo won 2 bumpers last year. Hopefully, we're going to end up in the Challow hurdle with him. Yeah, listen, really exciting, really exciting.
I feel like I've missed so many exciting horses. We need another hour, I think, to go through some of these. It's brilliant, though. But again, it's just a credit to the expansion, Jamie. And, you know, I really do wish you the best of luck. You've set yourself a high bar. If you could beat that again next year, and we can again talk about some obviously more bright horses that you're coming through, I think that'd be brilliant. Jamie, thanks so much for your time again. I really do appreciate it. I know it's a really busy time for you and the team at the yard. So thanks so much for giving me the time here. I love hearing about your horses. It's been great to see the success. And I really do wish you another very, very good season and hopefully another record breaker season for the coming year.
You're very kind, Joe, and thank you so much for having me on. Really
No,
appreciate it.
no worries. Thanks a lot, Jamie. Much appreciated.
Take care. All the best.
Cheers, Jamie.